Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Here we are. Thank you guys for piling in. I'm watching you on the restream. Hi, Troy. You were first. Yep. Jessica, Andy.
You're over here, Drew.
I see that. I'm looking at the restream now. Opinions on the 2 ER doctor viral video. Okay, let's get right to that. In fact, just as we were coming on here, I was reading an article about that. So they've been completely condemned by their professional societies, which is a very big deal. That's a real problem for them. They were accused of putting their financial, their urgent care centers, I guess, are closed. I don't know that that's true, but that's what they're accused of, putting their financial well-being ahead of the safety of the group they serve. Now, they are from Bakersfield, and there are very low numbers there apparently. They conflated a lot of data. They made some really serious mistakes in terms of what they were reporting. That's really their biggest error, is that they should have really qualified what they were saying, been transparent about what the data was. They conflated, for instance, what it is to be a person, let's say just anybody random out there, what your risk as you sit in your bedroom is of dying of COVID versus what a sick person coming in for a test is, or their risk of death is, a positive test. It's a very different piece of data. They also conflated some of the antibody testing. They just confused some of the epidemiology. So a lot of their conclusions were false. It also makes me wonder, they seemed so kind of cavalier about making it like influenza. When you see this COVID-19 do horrible things to people, which it does occasionally, you get a sense that it's not the flu. It's not the flu. It's more contagious. And in certain subsets, over 70, 75, metabolic syndrome, it's just brutal. It's just brutal what it does to people. So I actually will be interviewing Dr. Erickson. I believe that's the one I'm interviewing tonight on Fox 11. I believe Alex Michelson, who is my co-host on the show, will be giving him a chance to modify their position if they wish. But I specifically want to know if they have been taking care of COVID-19. Because if you see it, like I've been taking care of people with it, it's brutal. It's brutal in certain cases. Duncan Trussell will be here on Monday at 2:00 Pacific. Susan, is that correct?
Yes.
He is the present interview
Friday, May 1st.
Friday, May 1st. He is the current interview on Joe Rogan's podcast. And
good friend.
They get into it. And I am lucky enough to be on his cartoon called The Midnight Gospel. I'm the first episode if you want to get some laughs on my account. Please do. Oh, Susan's typing it in right now, The Midnight Gospel. I can read her mind, right? Isn't that what you're doing?
I know, I need a banner.
Do I foresee a 1918-ish rebound occurring? No, because we're preparing for it, though there will be some rebounds, right? So here's the interesting thing. So right now, we should all have eyes on Georgia, okay? Because Georgia has been opening up aggressively. And to my eye, and this, no expert in epidemiology, but I have some experience with infectious diseases, but to my eye, they picked exactly the wrong moment to do it, okay? Based on the data, not today, but the data as it was yesterday, they were just beginning to peak in their hospitalizations, and then they're going to go let people out, which means that thing should continue, right? Unless, and this is what we don't know, unless social distancing and wearing masks, so diligent social distancing and masks may have the same effect as quarantine. We don't know. In other words, if the citizens of Georgia can practice really diligent social distancing and wear masks perfectly and wash their hands, it's possible that they will have a similar effect as quarantine, in which case you would just see their graph, their hospitalization graph, continue to go down. Their daily death rate is actually kind of low. Last recorded on the 25th, it was 8. Again, relative to other states,
it's 2 weeks later usually.
The death rates is a lagging indicator. That's correct. So it should go up relative to the hospitalization. Now, they've had the data was updated today by University of Washington. So we have the United States data updated. We have the California data too. And we are definitely on the downslope of this thing. They've increased the expected total death up to 74,000 from something like 68,000. That may go up and down again. Who knows? It's a little disappointing that it's going up and not down. To me, that means that the therapeutics that we are attempting have not been as effective as I hope they would have. And that's
I wonder how pan is.
Oh my God. Where did that come from?
Somebody said, Susan, how could you have given Adam's cell number to Pan Pan?
Oh my God,
I was thinking about that the other day. I was wondering where Pan Pan is. Pan Pan, if you're out there.
Well, that is a story from, let's see, today's Tuesday, about 18 years ago. So
it was on a Loveline episode. He used to sell Cutco.
People are sick of the quarantine. I get that. I get that completely. Do I think this will be like SARS, where it runs its course and goes away? And H1N1 too did the same thing. That would be too good a luck, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it kind of be too good a luck? However, I do have a hunch that it might be much better in the summertime. By the way, that's the other possibility in Georgia. Georgia might get lucky, and there might be a seasonal regression of the virus as the summer approaches. And as they're opening up, that coincides with it. And it's not just the social distancing, it's actually summertime regression.
And people will be careful and sanitize and use social distancing, hopefully.
Yeah. Matt, you're reporting on a guy that Adam Carolla interviewed, Vlad Zelenko. 2,500 people treated with hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and Z-Pak, 95% recovery. Here's the thing, 98% of people recover anyway. See, this is what's hard about this. It's killing 2% of people. Right? Remember, flu is a fraction of a percent. This is about 2%, 1.5%, 2%, something like that. Again, once we get the numerator squared, that may not be that high. But when it kills people, it's brutal. And the hydroxychloroquine does not seem to work there. Now, is it working or helping shorten the duration of the 95% of people who are going to recover anyway?
But it might also help people who might have died from it as well.
We don't know, which is why we need crossover.
Not everybody has the same.
That's why we need crossover studies. And so here's the deal. I've used it. I've prescribed it. I've used Zithromax Plaquenil for COVID-19. I've used Plaquenil for lupus and rheumatoid arthritis for decades. Never seen one side effect, not one. So I feel confident using it. I don't know why they're so circumspect about it. Can COVID and seasonal flu in the winter are the exclusive diseases? They can occur together, though rarely, and they're exclusive diseases. Friend almost died. Hydroxychloroquine turned everything around. Maybe, Amy, like I said, I prescribe it. I've used it, maybe. 0.4% lethality. Chad, we don't know. We don't know the lethality yet, right? I do know that the data that Dr. Erickson was going over was all conflated and confused, so that was unfortunate.
Well, they're not radio personalities either.
So Kevin's asking what percentage of those 1 or so 2% that die are young. Very unusual. It's very, like, one of the things that bothered me, for instance, was the press was touting, was every headline for the last 2 days, young people die of stroke, young people die of stroke with nominal symptoms. Yes.
From
yes. Guess what other virus killed with stroke too in young people? SARS coronavirus 1. SARS 1 caused stroke. SARS 2, we know it causes an antiphospholipid syndrome, which causes hypercoagulability, which caused that kid with the Broadway kid to lose his leg. I've had patients with a coagulation problem. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre coagulation problem. What's interesting, it was just published, 5 cases. There have been 5 cases out of the millions of cases, 5 with stroke in a young person. They are being studied. It was a study the New England Journal put out today. It's a antiphospholipid syndrome, anticardiolipin, and we will try to figure out how to treat it. We don't know yet because it doesn't respond to usual anticoagulants. But in that same article, they blamed the lockdown on the fact that people were not coming in with their strokes early enough. They didn't go to the hospital because they were afraid of COVID. So if you have stroke symptoms, you go to the hospital.
How many people have died from that? From the blood clotting and the stroke.
The stroke. The problem is these are big strokes. These are big strokes.
Yeah, so but the young people, did they?
They're big strokes, but I don't think any died. But they were big strokes. These are not good things. These are really bad things.
Are we up to like 100 now?
5 people total. It's reported in the medical journal. Yeah.
Could happen.
Yes, it does, and then we're studying it, but it's not young people are dying of stroke.
Yeah, please
it's
don't believe
a case out of the millions, 5 have been reported. Be careful, everybody, and anticoagulants don't help it. That's what's weird about it.
It's a headline.
It's a crazy
Look
headline.
Past the headline.
That's right.
The headline draws you in.
Please look
makes
past
you
the
want to read
headline.
it, and then you realize it's a headline and it means nothing.
Behavioral health expert, uncontrolled asthma, you're being assigned to screening front desk duties, no PPE, you're scared. Wash your hands, wear masks. Tanya, wash your hands, wear masks. That should keep you good. I'm going to be like Scott Adams, just block people wherever I feel like it.
You want John to go bye-bye?
He did. All gone.
Yeah, well, only on the restream. I gotta go into.
Dr. Erickson is right. Sweden and Taiwan are right. Sweden is very different than us. To compare us to Sweden, I think, is a mistake. Right. The reality is that most Swedes live alone. I heard some data today that I don't know to be true, but that the majority live in villages of 200 to 400. And when they have nursing homes, which is in California, 60% of the cases are nursing home or nursing home staff. If they live in nursing homes, they're very small, like under 10 people, while ours are hundreds, or at least 100 people. So oftentimes, so it's not a fair comparison. So Taiwan, I don't know what to do with that. And then again, comparing New York and Los Angeles, you can see the difference, right? These are different kinds of environments. Now, there was, I did see the antacid medicine treatment. So Pepcid was shown to have some efficacy. Don't put much faith in that yet, but that's something that doctors might use because it's a no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul. Let's see what else you got here.
Somebody says, look at CNN clip in your Twitter feed, 3 million dead.
3 million dead.
Is that what they predicted?
Originally, there was at least they were predicting.
Well, they said 400,000 on March 18th. We're going to die. You sent me that one.
No, I sent you 750,000 would be hospitalized in New York alone. Look up the College of London, Imperial College of London original predictions. I think it was in the United States 60 million. And multiple millions dead, which they were way off, which is what I was complaining about. That's what I was complaining about.
Well, somebody said something in our Twitter feed that says 3 million.
It's not in there.
I don't know. Explain yourself.
Yeah, I don't see what you're talking about.
Yeah, be more elaborate.
Is the hydroxychloroquine treatment plan off the table? No, it is not. A lot of people are still using it. And people are using it even prophylactically. I've seen people using it. So the data is not in yet, so doctors are improvising. Can a high blood alcohol help find the virus? No, I don't think so. Thank you, Randy. I'm glad to be here. Yes, people are still dying. Aloha. It's not over yet. It is not over yet. And let's keep in mind, the plan was to mitigate, right? So the plan was to suppress the curve, not to change the total numbers of deaths. Now, we did do that. I think we did decrease the total number of deaths. But the plan was to drag it over a longer period of time so we didn't exceed our hospital capacities. It was never to reduce the number of cases or reduce the number of deaths. So I think we did achieve that.
Okay, I found it. It says Imperial College scientists who predicted 500,000 coronavirus deaths in UK adjust figure to 20 or fewer.
Okay, so that's just in the UK. So they were off by a factor of 50. 50.
Well, I guess they had to scare everybody into staying home.
Yeah. You guys are all asking about Dr. Erickson's video. You could watch the beginning of this stream where I talked about that in length. And I will be interviewing him tonight to see if he has any adjustment in his position. Because he was off. He was certainly quite off.
But he's trying his hardest.
We don't know. You can't read people's minds. So I don't know what his motivation was for going out there. He seemed earnest. He seemed like he was trying to calm people down.
I mean, no
but
doctors
people, his own professional societies, however, are accusing him of putting their financial gain ahead of the safety.
Well, that's probably because the Twitterverse went off on him.
Maybe. New exercise. Yes, I too take vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc. I do all that, and I take Niagen. I take a nicotinamide riboside, but I do that more as an anti-aging, anti-senescence. I don't know if it's an anti-COVID thing yet. I'm looking at that data. I don't know about the quercetin. Tennessee is doing very, very well. I'll look that up for you. Let me see. Tennessee. Remember I said watch Georgia, though. That's your canary in the coal mine. Tennessee has very few cases already. I mean, they're way below their hospital capacity. Like literally right now, today, they have 189 patients in the hospital. Their prediction total is 257 deaths. So Tennessee seems to be in a good place to get going and start mitigation or containment efforts, seems to me. I'm not making that decision, thankfully, but it looks like they're pretty close. What will life look like in July and August? I don't think we'll be seeing sport events. I don't know where Dr. Haas has been. I'm going to try to get him on my show, by the way. I don't think we'll be in standing in bars. I don't think we will be in large rooms for stand-ups. And then the fall, it will be the real question mark. Will we have a vaccine? Will we be able to mitigate? Will we be containing it effectively? And will we be able to start having sort of stand-up shows in bars and things? I don't know. I think we'll be eating in restaurants again. I do, and I think we'll be going to retail stores, but you may be wearing masks through the summer, and you may be only going one at a time into those retail stores. It will be interesting.
You will be flying.
Do I think colleges in the fall? I think I will be flying. I think I will. If they,
there'll be some good deals, but the minute
essential flying,
they're going to probably stop booking the center seat, and then also lessen the.
I see. They'll just skip the center seat,
and then when things pick up, they're going to charge a lot more money. So you want to buy your tickets now.
So somebody just sent me a YouTube video, which I'm not going to watch it. I know what it is. This is a nurse complaining about ventilator treatment of patients.
How can you tell?
Because I'd seen it on Twitter earlier, and
by the words on there.
No, I just clicked on it and I went through it and I recognize this woman. So be very careful of that video. That is someone that is not a pulmonologist. She is not an infectious disease specialist. She is telling us something that we all physicians know, which is that the ventilator is a double-edged sword. But believe me, when they use it to good purpose and because we have to. And not because we want to, or not because we think we are doing something that isn't risky. We use ventilators when we have to.
Okay, somebody said, oh my God, it's real, 3 million dead Chinese.
So that's the number that they just released or something?
Really?
I don't know. Somebody's got to...
Oh, come on, you guys.
Fact check on that.
Oh, gosh. All right.
I don't know what LLLT is. Somebody's going to have to tell me what that is. Outside baseball, yeah. IndyCar, yeah, I don't know if they'll let us have the crowds, though. Maybe it'd be weird, right? If you had just allowed, every fourth seat to have somebody in it, every third row or something. It'd be very weird. I do think we'll have stuff without audiences, though. I do. Sweden versus the rest of the world, I commented on that earlier, that it's not a fair comparison because their nursing homes are tiny. They're like under 10 people. And the average Swede lives alone in villages, 200 to 400 people. So it's just not the same thing. I have not been on Joe Rogan. I'd be happy to be, though. I'm a big fan. New York used 5,000 vents, but called for 30,000. Yes, we were way beneath our needs, except in a couple of hospitals out in New York. But we were prepared.
3.1 million people had it.
Had it, not died of it.
Yes.
Okay.
And 216,000 died.
Ooh, it's a big number.
And I think that's worldwide, though.
Oh, worldwide. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
How many would die if we never had flu vaccines? Way higher than the 35,000 that do die. That's for sure. So that's a good point. See, that we have mitigation. We have ways to contain flu. Even then, it gets through somewhat, but it's still 35,000. Now, what the CDC is beginning to worry about is what about if in the wintertime we get the 35,000 flu deaths or the 30 million cases and have COVID on top of that? That's a pretty nasty combination that once again could stress our hospital system. One of the things we put tents out before during the flu season. It's not like this is the first time that ER has built tents out in the parking lots. It has happened before. In fact, about 3 years ago we had one, and we had a massive pandemic in H1 in 2009, H1N1. New York is on the downslope, Dustin. That is absolutely true. Michael asked Duncan about the conspiracy theory about COVID and solar flare comet connection. Don't make me do that. Duncan will go. I know. Listen to Joe Rogan if you want to hear him go off on that.
It'll be fun.
I'm trying to keep Duncan's feet on the ground here.
Oh, come on.
So,
that's a good
thoughts on the accuracy of the USC study? I think the USC study is pretty good. The USC study took the rapid antibody test out, found that about 15% of people had been exposed to this virus, which is about 50 times more people than were predicted. Now, people went, oh my God, the test is no good. the test has too many false negatives. It has very few false positives. So if you're actually going to attack the test, the reality is the number could be higher than 15%, not lower, because it's known to have false negatives, not false positives. I actually interviewed that guy too. So I didn't give a Joe Rogan diss. I didn't know Joe. I'm a Joe Rogan fan. So I interviewed the main researcher on that project too at SC, and he seemed very legitimate to me. We know, listen, we had 7,000 people coming in and out of the state of California direct from China every day for 6 weeks during the outbreak. It had to have come here. It had to be here.
I swear I had it.
But you were a negative on the rapid reagent test. So
I haven't taken it.
You took the rapid. Oh, you didn't?
I did not.
Okay. So we're going to
I want the real one.
Draw your blood. Okay.
I didn't take a test yet.
I will draw your blood.
Thank you. I'm waiting. I don't want to take it from somebody who needs it. I'm good.
Yeah, Jason, I did see that Oxford had some accelerated vaccines going. I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know whether that was legit or not, so I'll be watching that. No, the high altitude sickness is not. It's something different. See, high altitude sickness, remember, is the hemoglobin binding of oxygen. But what's happening in these cases is the oxygen dissolved in the blood. The oxygen saturation is down. And that's a sign of what's going on in the lungs, not in the hemoglobin. So it's a whole different phenomenon. Let's see.
What was Newsom's plan today?
I didn't hear it yet. I did not hear it. I will be hearing it later. Did he already speak on it?
I'm not expecting anything.
Thoughts on a global famine this could cause. That's the kind of stuff I do worry about, that this has, the consequences are worse than the illness itself. That is very, very, very concerning. Thoughts were UV light and humidity. So let me just give you a minute on that, which is that the CDC on Thursday said that there have been no cases documented of COVID transmitted out of doors. He also reported that they're finding that the virus on surfaces dies very quickly in sunlight. So that would lead me to conclude that people should be social distancing, wearing masks, and going to the beach and parks. Now, I'm not saying do that. That would lead me to conclude that if that is accurate. So I'm a little confused why the government is so uptight about anybody going out of doors. Seems like that would be the right thing to do. It would certainly help our mood and help our mental health issues, which are going to be significant very soon.
My car was like 100 degrees yesterday.
By the same token, the homeless in Southern California, in Los Angeles, are allowed to congregate and sit outside in the sun as long as they wish.
Yeah.
As much as they wish, wherever they wish.
Maybe that's why they're not dying.
So could be. So I would say let's have a consistent policy. Either the homeless go inside also, or maybe the people that are not homeless can go out of doors wearing masks and social distance.
I cut his hair. Also, there's somebody keeps asking if you think schools will open in the fall, colleges.
I would hope so, but it's a long way out. It's hard to make that kind of prediction from here.
I think each school will be different. Like if you're going to New York, it's going to be a little touchier than if you go to somewhere else. Study that showed that the virus is locking up red cells, causing a reaction at the lungs instead of being a lung ailment. So it's a little more complicated than that. It's really the inflammatory system, the cytokine system, that gets excessively activated. And a big piece of what's going on in the lungs is related to that. That also goes on in the liver and the kidneys and the brain. So it's not a simple matter. And we give interleukin-6 inhibitors to try to suppress that. It is not working all that well when it gets out of hand. So the question is, maybe we should be using it earlier. I don't know. Percentage of people die from COVID. Yes, it is people that are overweight, people with metabolic syndrome, people that are old, that particularly have this horrible cytokine activation that when you see it, you will think about it as being something different than the flu. That's what I want to talk to Dr. Erickson about. It is getting better. That's what Duckman is saying. Of course it's getting better. We are getting through this. I would say people should be congratulated. I mean, I really keep saying this, that we should be congratulating people that have put aside their work and sheltered inside for a month. I mean, this is crazy. We've all done it on behalf of one another. We should be congratulated for the effect we're having. Matt is asking about remdesivir.
The data's gone both way on that. I've talked to some infectious disease people that don't have much faith in it. It's certainly not been massively helpful. That's for sure. Major addiction from Suboxone. It can get out of control. Yes, it can. Thank you, JD. Appreciate that.
What did they say?
They liked Midnight Gospel.
Oh, yay. Okay, let's talk about that again. Duncan Tressel's going to be on the show on Friday, May 1st at 2 p.m.
Yeah, and I'm on the first episode there, and I read a review of it today on something like Rotten Tomatoes, and they were saying, watch that last episode, which is I've been saying too. Watch the first and the last episode.
I was crying.
Yeah.
Also, I like the part where he makes you fall down a lot. It reminds me of you.
So I fall
Remember
down.
You went running the other day.
I fall down and
down.
I get up again. Okay. I'm getting calls from Fox 11 here.
Uh-oh.
So let me just do that for a second, if you guys don't mind.
Wait, what? 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 Oh, do you want me to run an ad or something?
Let's see if they can just text me, and that'll be it.
I can run an ad.
Maybe it won't run a second. Hold on. Let's see.
I don't usually do that, but I could do it.
Okay, let's see. Do I think there's a point where mask requirements could be relaxed? Yeah, I mean, this thing could really recede in the summer. It's possible. Update Florida. Okay, let me give you an update on Florida.
How is Heidi Fleiss? I wonder how she is.
We haven't talked to Florida in a couple of months. She's been very dedicated to her birds. I will tell you that. That's her whole life right now. But she sounded good last time I talked to her.
She was already sheltering place, so she's okay.
Yeah, she's in Pahrump. Florida looks good. You're on sort of a long, flat trajectory. Only like 1,000 people in the hospital. Projected deaths like 1,900. That will peak at about, all that will be over in about, looks like it's going to run most of the month of May. Though by May, let's see here, by May 23rd, you're only going to need like 200 beds. So you're going to only have like a couple hundred people in the hospital. But by the time you go out to June 1st, you're going to have close to zero, like 80. So my suspicion is, again, I don't know what your governor is going to do. I suspect the CDC is going to recommend that you wait until June and they do some containment efforts after that.
Who's Joey Diaz?
Joey Diaz is a very funny comedian. I'm a big fan of his. He is also on the Midnight Gospel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody just asked if you and I would be willing to go on Joey Diaz's podcast.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
Diaz's podcast.
Absolutely. Joey was he's like a recovering addict, criminal, got quite a story.
Maybe he'll come on ours.
He might. Okay, let me look again at what your guys are talking about here. I'm sorry. Could a face shield count as a mask? Yes, I would think so.
Oh, God. Dr. Christian, please. Please, don't make me block you.
Let's see what else is going on here. You bet, Jennifer. Thank you.
Should I block him or just mute him? I think I'll block him. Blink.
Any therapeutics that I have faith in? Yes, I think hydroxychloroquine used early seems to have some benefit. And I do think that IV antibiotics can be helpful as well. I do believe the IL-6 inhibitors work. I just don't know that we're skilled at using them yet. Some doctors are having good results with them, some are not. So it's hard to say. But let me tell you, when this thing takes over, it's like no other illness I'm really familiar with. It's like an overwhelming, massive sepsis sets in. That's the way it is. It's pretty crazy. Let's see.
Oh, he plays Satan on the gospel.
Yes, he did. That's right. And I think he had another character too in one of the other ones. Do I think Massachusetts will begin opening up around May 18th? Well, let's look at the data there. Massachusetts looks sort of drawn out. I don't know. I mean, they could do that then, but you still have a couple hundred people in the hospital at that point. And the death rate, again, is going to lag a little bit behind that. By I will tell you what the recommendations are for the University of Washington. They're saying stop the lockdown and begin containment on June 21st. So that's a long way off. I don't know if everyone's going to be able to sit with that. But
everybody likes my black. I'll just say, if I see the word Dr. Phil in a sentence on any of these platforms, I will erase you. I will block you.
I did finish The Tiger King.
Sorry, I am sassy today.
Yes, nicotine does seem to have some effect. I don't know quite what to make of that yet, but I've seen that data. Let's see. Yeah, the Cedars-Sinai anti-UV stuff is interesting also, but I don't know the results of it. Serologic tests for the public. Again, we need something to be specifically recommended by the FDA. And at this point, the rapid tests I don't know they're accurate enough to do the trick. That's the question.
Somebody's asking about your diet and your carb intake.
My carb intake, I try to keep as close to zero as possible.
But, I mean, you tell them what you've been doing.
And if you listen to our stream yesterday, I did a long interview with Kate Shanahan, who's a lipid expert. And after speaking to her for 45 minutes, I decided I'm going to go back just to meat because there's so much unhealthy fat out there in the world that it's really hard to stay clean. And I've got metabolic syndrome. And so I'm at risk for this virus. This COVID thing could have its way with me. And one of the ways I can mitigate that risk is avoiding the seed oils and all the seed oils that she recommends, the corn oil, all that stuff.
You basically eat nothing but meat and some vegetables.
Right.
And peanut butter.
It's a peanut butter. That peanut butter is my treat, though. I try to eat something called, I try to eat actually a Joe Rogan product from, what's his company? Oh, shoot. But
On It?
From On It
was I right?
Called fat butter. Fat butter. I eat his fat butter as opposed to peanut butter.
See, Joe should like me. I remember what it's called.
Susan, you'll be happy to know, according to Jeff, that Mark Garagos called me a prophet. Oh, my goodness.
I don't know. How much do we have to pay him for that?
Oh, my goodness. I'm just feathering it, Seth. You got that right. Oh, my God. I did a podcast, After Dark podcast with Josh Potter yesterday, and he is feathering his body hair.
Oh.
You have to watch.
Oh,
that's coming out in a couple of weeks. Just
butt hair or what?
Susan, shoulder hair.
Oh, okay.
He's a sex worker now. It's unbelievable.
Oh my God.
It's unbelievable.
Ew.
It requires 2 syllables to really get that across. Ew.
Oh God.
Okay. Will I treat what is wit is Mia, Nick is I? That's not making any sense. You must have hit your keyboard. Eat more bacon. There you go. Right kind, anyway. That's a Vinny Tortorich. Follow Vinny Tortorich. We need to get Vinny back. Yeah.
I know. I was thinking about that, but I just wanted you to be solo today because I was too tired.
Yeah, it's time for Vinny to come back around.
Yeah. He loves you.
Yes, I love Vinny. Coming to New York. Yes, I do plan to come to New York, Rocco. I'm waiting for things to cool out a little more. I have applied there to work there, and they've not asked me, and they are cooling out quite quickly there. So I'm assuming they're not going to need me. But I am available should they.
I mean, this whole COVID thing's really making people look at their diet and their exercise and their health more accurately. So,
I hope so.
These are the people that we need to talk to and go back over all the different ways to get healthy and help your heart.
Yeah, they are literally right now in New York City. The hospital and ICU rate is exact. Let me see that number. Hold on. Today it is at 46. It was at that number, same number, on March 25th. So they've gone all the way through and come out the other side. Now here we are in April. They're on the. It's sort of a bookend the month. Now we are in April 28th. They're at the same numbers they were at the end of March. So, and they were okay then. So they were making a go of it. And they
should have Mark Garagos on.
Sure.
Garagos.
23,000 deaths predicted in New York. They've already had 22,000. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. I mean, that's almost our entire flu epidemic for the country.
Would it be okay to have them on a dose? I want to see if people would rather have them on a dose or an Ask Dr. Drew.
Let's see what people say.
Okay. We'll take a vote.
Read, I've commented now twice on that press conference, and I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Erickson in a couple of hours on Fox 11, so you can roll this back and see what I said. Your nose is congested in the morning when you wake up. Most likely thing is allergies. If you sleep with an animal, it's a very common thing, but it does remind me to say
Vacuum.
that the nose is the primary entry point and infection point in the early parts of COVID. So it gets in through the nose, and it also, you're emitting virus from the nose. And I see people with their masks on not covering their nose. You might as well not wear the mask. So please make sure it covers your nose also.
Also, a humidifier helps.
Maybe. We think.
I have allergies too.
We think moist nose might help. Flonase, that kind of thing might help. We don't know.
You said I might have COVID today because I have allergies. I said, I think I have allergies.
I look a little thin, according to Jennifer.
COVID.
Jennifer, I've been running a bunch for my mental health, and it makes my weight go way down. So thank you for that. And I'm trying to keep my weight down for this COVID thing. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I advise you to get the abnormal, the bad fats out of your diet, lose some weight, make sure your blood pressure is under control. If you have any insulin resistance, watch the carbohydrates. Be very, very careful.
And try to move around even though you're in quarantine.
When they show nurses getting tests in the news, they really shove that stick up the person's nose. Yes, when I had my H1N1 swab, I thought she'd made a mistake. I thought I'd fallen on the stick or something.
Well, you're really sick too, and your nose was all swollen.
No. They go way up. To do the swabs, you've got to go way in there. How do you prevent your glasses from fogging up? People have ways of taping the masks and putting a little Kleenex or something in there.
Also, I'm a skier, so you can also take a little bit of soap and rub it on the inside of your glasses and dry it, and it helps prevent it.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what I do when I go skiing. Like Dove, just wipe it in there and then just rub it off.
There's Ancestry is doing some sort of genetic study on COVID. That's great news. I'd be interested to see what they're doing. Okay. Comments on chronic fatigue syndrome. The main thing in fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue is trying to restore sleep. I'm telling you, that is such a key phenomenon in both chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia is disturbed sleep. I'm not saying, and all kinds of sleep disturbances, but everybody has a sleep disturbance that have those syndromes. And if you can restore sleep hygiene, now sometimes it's disturbed because of the pain of fibromyalgia, sometimes it's other issues, but if you can restore the sleep hygiene, the fatigue and the myalgia gets much, much better. Now, it doesn't go away, but it gets much better.
Somebody just did the okay sign.
Okay, excellent.
Not any bigger than this.
Oh yes, well that's that's from your mom's house. You can get that at merch methods / Tom Segura if you really want that stuff. Bad fats: canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower. Yep, basically any kind of oil where you can't press the oil. I don't know what that means by press the oil, but yes, the good oils are tallow and butter. And I just keep it, that's simple enough for me. I try to keep things very, very simple. How fast could herd immunity develop? That's like 60% of the population, and that would be a lot of people dying, I suspect. So I'm not quite sure unless we come up. I don't think herd immunity is in anybody's plan, really, unless we have some more effective treatments. I really think that's gotta be, or a vaccine, of course. And by the way, here's a wrinkle about this virus. So there was something I didn't say about Dr. Erickson's logic. He was trying to compare influenza with COVID, which is a faulty comparison. But although we've ended up with similar numbers, COVID and influenza this year, COVID, when it hits that population that does so poorly, it's a different disease. Trust me, it's not influenza. It's a lot worse and a lot more fatal. But here's the interesting thing about influenza. COVID, as you all know, kills older people, has very rare for it to affect children. It does, but it's rare. The vast, vast, vast majority of deaths certainly are in older people. But influenza, with its 35,000 deaths, kills children and is transmitted by children. So that's sort of an interesting difference between COVID and influenza. And thankfully, this is This is a virus that is not killing young people the way
Get those flu
influenza can.
shots.
Yes, 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 yes.
Please.
Also, back to those. Yeah, I did all that stroke stuff. I'm not going to ask that again.
These people just showed up. You have a bigger audience right now, but some are new.
Okay. Why the high false negative tests? It's around 30%. That is true. Because that's the nature of the testing. The test is not accurate. So where you go. Do I believe?
What does
they
that
can
mean,
be
false negative test?
it means
Like, explain that.
False negative means
To dumb
that
people like me.
okay. So false negative means the test is negative, but you have the antibody. So it's falsely negative. It doesn't detect the antibody that you have. A false positive is it looks like you have the antibody and you do not. Okay.
So do you just like take 2 out of 3 tests?
Nope. The false negative is a high level, and it's probably, again, whether it's per given test.
How do you know it's false negative or
because
false
they
positive?
because they have to go out and test it against blood draws, and they see how many people they missed that they catch in the blood draws, and it's a high percentage. But again, it wouldn't make the number less than 15%. It would make it higher than 15%. So people that are critical of the Santa Clara and the USC study, it seems like their criticism, I mean, it's a viable criticism, but it's not going to make the number less. It's going to make it higher. Let's see. You're addicted to honey. That is sugar honey.
So how do you not know you had a false negative
You don't.
on your test?
I don't. But I can go test your blood, and if you have had it, then I probably have had it. So that's one of the reasons I'm anxious to do that. Let's see. Do I believe, since kids seem to go through this, they can be safely exposed to get more herd immunity? That's a really interesting question. I can't imagine doing that, but that's an interesting question. In other words, could the children be the barrier? Oof, that seems risky to me, because there will be some that get really sick.
Is it better to get a flu shot in August when it comes out, or wait till October or November?
Say this again.
Is it better to get a flu shot in August when it comes out, or wait until October or November?
It's a good question. I think people will be rushing out in August and September, but the optimum time is October, November. But
they said in September the flu is going to come and that we should get a flu shot.
Well, if we have an early flu season,
and also COVID.
If we can get the COVID, but if we have an early flu season,
they were saying that the flu is going to come back in September, so it's good if people go out and get their flu shot. So August would probably be a good idea, especially if your kids are going to school.
Probably, I wouldn't say no to that. That's at least that's it. Let's see. Yeah, I have a patient who definitely had COVID. I mean, definitely active exposure, really sick, classic symptoms, and was antibody negative on the rapid test.
Really?
So, yeah. So I don't have a lot of confidence in it. But then again, we're trying to, and we don't really even know what it means yet fully.
Are the Quest tests going to be better, or
the blood draw test will be better?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a few that are good.
2 flu shots are not recommended, but we can talk. But again, next flu season we'll see. There's a higher dose flu shot you can talk to your doctor about. Lisinopril and hydrochlorothiazide, you are not at higher risk. Stay on your antihypertensives. That's fine. Shouldn't flu deaths drop with all the shelter in place? Yes, they should. However, we're already at the end of the flu season. That's a really interesting point, that the flu season kind of came and went, and we have some ability to contain that, of course, with the vaccines that we have. So, all right, I got to kind of wrap things up.
I bet we're going to run out of flu shots early in August.
Well, if you remember that one year, I think it was during the H1N1 or after the H1N1, we had a run on it, and everyone suddenly wanted their flu shots. It's so weird. Some years you have to convince people to get their flu shots. Others, we can't keep enough in stock.
I think we should send them all to New York.
Let's see. All right, we got to wrap this thing up. Again, Friday with Duncan Trussell from the Midnight Gospel on Netflix. I suggest you check that out. I think you'll dig it.
Sorry
What's
about the music.
is, but
did I lose your sound? Shit.
Evidently.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Can you hear me now? Am I back?
Oh God.
Am I back yet?
Okay,
Back.
so
I was saying
go back to the pinworms.
No, I'm going to go back to the flu shot. That we give it towards October, November because we want it to peak during the peak of the flu season. That's all.
Oh,
so
your
that's
engineer is fired.
No, we're all good.
Ivy, I'm sorry.
Okay. Let us wrap things up. We appreciate you guys stopping by. If you have specific things you want to talk about, bring your questions. I'm happy to try to answer them for you. Again, I do the best I can and try to get resources in here if there are things that I can't answer. Let's see. Last questions here. Susan, you rock. That's a lot of it. I'm muted again.
Thank you. Oh, you are?
Maybe not.
No, I can see it. You're good.
My GP doc says she's beginning to believe that more people have had this pass through than we can imagine. I think that is, not than imagine, but I think it's higher than we thought. I think it's like 50 times what we thought, which is good news, That means the fatality rate will drop. That means the number of people that can return to work probably with some form of immunity will be better, be higher. Yeah, I referenced a couple times the possibility of a vaccine this fall. That is for healthcare workers. That is not for the average person, Matt. I've heard rumors of that for healthcare workers. So whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. How's Australia doing? We'll get into that tomorrow. Which mask? Thank you, Tony. We'll think about that. That'd be nice.
I can't believe I muted everybody.
All right. How's that? All right. I'm going to ask, as long as we're continuing to stream here, I'm going to look at Australia. Okay, I'll give you a second.
Australia.
I don't have it in my database here.
Oh,
for whatever reason, it used to be. Am I spelling it wrong? No, I'm not. Oh, Austria. I have Austria. But not Australia. That's weird.
Maybe they stopped picking up on that information.
I don't know.
Who puts these things together?
This is University of Washington.
Who does all of this?
University of Washington. It's a epidemiology group that's doing these very, very fine models. Has been the closest by far of all the other models out there. So that's why I like looking at them. Peace and love, Jennifer. See the dogs? They are not here right now.
I know. Rex wasn't feeling well this week.
Yeah, he's had a little problem, but he's okay now. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. We'll see you tomorrow around this time. Is
it around this time?
Well, let me double check that for you.
That works for me.
Yeah, I think that'd be best for me if we could.
4 p.m. Maybe we'll get Vinny Tortorich in here.
Tomorrow? Yeah, we just answer questions again. Let me see. If you will give me a second, I can tell you what time.
I feel like this week is weight loss week for me.
Yeah. Anytime.
It's actually motivating me to stop eating Fritos.
Did you do your spin today?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's good. Good. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Trussell Friday.